World is facing an urgent need for green renewable energy. With the rollout of offshore wind, we will have a greener, more reliable energy source. But we'll also interfere with the oceans in a whole new way. We don't know the long-term effect that offshore wind buildings will have on the ocean and biodiversity. Alex Alcocer, the professor in OsloMet and Ocean Laboratory, shares his view on the ocean data and their role in energy transition. Together with Esther Strömmen, the CEO of Syrena, they have a solution based on the 4 years of research at OsloMet and Ocean Laboratory.
So, Alex Alcocer, from Spain to Norway, professor in robotics and AI
and control.
At Oslo Metropolitan University, one of our members, and you are in charge of something called the Ocean Laboratory, where we're actually based now, at Filipstad, across from Tjåmen og Aker Brygge. Alex, I've known you for some time now, and you are a cool person.
Thank you.
So now we just need to convince the people who watch that you are this cool person, which should be very easy. But I guess the first thing we can do is to start by what made you come to Norway and how did you end up here, very briefly.
I think I've always been very passionate about technology and the ocean. So I think it was, and also passion by the Nordic countries. So I spent some time in Sweden doing my university studies.
Yeah.
And I had the time to visit Norway during Easter vacation, which was an amazing experience. And then after doing my PhD, I also spent some time in Trondheim at NTNU. So I had Norway in my heart. And then 2012, I got an opportunity to go to work for Kongsberg Maritime in Kongsberg town.
Kongsberg Maritime.
Yeah, Kongsberg Maritime. So it's one of the companies that it's very well known in the field. So for me, it was a very nice opportunity. So I didn't think twice to come to Norway, yes.
And then I know that you had some time in Stavanger before you came back to Oslo.
Yeah. Then after some time, I moved to Stavanger. There I was working with Aker Solutions, drilling technologies, with hardware in the loop simulation for drilling systems. So it was 2 years, very interesting time in Stavanger, where I met my wife from Oslo. So
Good.
That's the reason why after some time, we came back to Oslo.
And then you came to OsloMet.
Yeah.
And then at some point you decided, or somebody decided that OsloMet should have an ocean laboratory away from the university as a satellite down to Aker Brygge.
Yeah. So one of the things when you are developing technology at university is you always, it's very common to have development in a laboratory, but then when you need to test things, it's a mess of logistics. You need to pack things, you need to transport. If you are working with ocean technology, you need to pack things, go with the car to go to the place where the boat is. So it's a very complicated logistics that what it does, it slows down development. So the dream was to have a facility which is just, as we are now, is just 10 meters from the water.
Yeah.
So that you very easily, even every day, we can be testing things, and then it speeds up the development. It's a fantastic environment for testing new ideas very fast and improve them.
You said something to me before, because outside here in the summer you have the royal yacht is Kongeskipet.
Yes.
Norge is located outside when it's not in use.
Yes.
And you said something about the difference between Spain and Norway when it comes to how much you can do in front of this ship without anybody caring about it.
Yeah, so from someone coming from Spain, it's some things are a little bit more formal and a lot of safety, and it's difficult and inaccessible to the monarchy in this case. Here we are very happy to be neighbors of Kongeskipet. And it's an amazing, it's very nice relationship, And sometimes what I was, the anecdote I was telling is we have some underwater robots that might look like a torpedo from a person that is not very well known.
Yeah.
And we are carrying this on our shoulders and putting it in the water just a few meters from this the King's ship. So it's very surprising that we didn't get into trouble. So it was, yeah.
But they look at you and they trust you, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah. But what you have been doing here is you have developed a lot of stuff. So you have, can you tell about there are 3 stories, or 3 floors?
Yes.
Can you tell about them?
Yes, it's a 3-story building. So on the first floor we have what we call a maker space. That's a hardware laboratory. We have 3D printers, equipment for developing electronics cards, CNC for working with materials, cutting materials. So it's a place where it's easy to just be working with your prototypes. Then in the second floor we have a place for master, where we are now. Mm-hmm. We have a office space and for master students that are working on their projects. And we also use this for teaching, actually, in some of our master courses. Mm. And then on the third floor, we have office space for researchers, professors, PhD students, and also some guests and collaborators.
When you say it like that, it sounds like a huge place.
Yeah.
It's not really a very big place.
No, it's not.
How big is it in square meters?
Yeah, I don't have the figure, but as you see, yeah, it's not it's limited. But we are so happy to have this. And,
it's a fantastic place. So I was here at the opening back in 20...
Yes.
20?
19, yes.
Yeah. It was an amazing event as well, and this was officially open. So we will talk today. This is the second interview we make in this series of Waves of Ocean Energy with us and Olga Bratikos. So we are going to talk a bit about things that are related to energy and waves and ocean, and all these are known for you, so that should be quite easy. But we did this interview straight after a lunch and learn session we had with Ocean Industry Forum Offshore in this floor, which was really interesting. I mean, you presented the laboratory, all you have been doing and all you do, and you also mentioned something that has resulted in a startup called Sirena. And we had a presentation on Sirena by Esther Strömmen, your CEO. That was so cool. Can you tell us about that, and then we can move into the other stuff afterwards?
Yeah, so Sirena is one of the first...
what is the name? The name Sirena, what does it mean?
It comes from the word mermaid in Latin. So it has this association with the boys of the sea, boys of the ocean. And that's
Cool.
Yeah, and it's one of the, if not the first commercial startup coming out of Oslo Metropolitan University. And we are trying to commercialize a special type of underwater drone that makes it much simpler to obtain real-time data from the ocean.
Real-time data?
Yeah.
So there's a transmission going on?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you tell about that?
Yes. So it's a special type of underwater drone, simple underwater drone that travels up and down. And it only communicates while it reaches the surface using satellite or 4G or 5G if you are near the coast.
So real time is not real time; it is real time from time to time.
Exactly. Yeah. We say almost real time. Yeah. So every time the drone reaches the surface, and this is
how often can that be?
That can be fully programmable according to the needs of the customer. Typically, it will be 1 to 2 times a day. Okay. But in some situations, it might be only in certain trigger events. You might be only willing to ascend to the surface in case of a certain acoustic signal that's being detected or a certain chemical sensor leakage detection.
You know, somebody asked here today in the meeting, and people watch TV, and we see this TV series where everything is possible. I mean, Jack Bauer, 20 years ago, everything was possible even then, you know. So somebody else here today, can you transmit voice and sound and things like that in the ocean?
Yeah, and that is actually one of the, it's a very big challenge, not known to some people that doesn't usually work with ocean technology, is that communicating underwater is very challenging. You don't have electromagnetic waves do not propagate very well, so you don't have Wi-Fi, you don't have GPS, so lots of the things that we take for granted on land, they don't work underwater. So there are of course it's a big field with several types of solutions. Like you have acoustic communication that works for relatively short distances if you're not gonna use tremendous amount of power, which has also its environmental impacts. So there are a lot of solutions, but what we are doing as in Sirena is especially overcoming these challenges and just gather the data where you need it, and make it simple in terms of communication. Just go to the surface and use then satellite or existing 4G, 5G. So it's like a way of simplifying the way of gathering data and making it available.
And what we learned today is that this is a very inexpensive thing that you have made compared to everything else in the market.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things in the market that do these things somehow.
Yeah.
But not as cheap and not as efficient as you are doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of technologies for getting data from the ocean, and for very specific different types of uses. What we believe our technology fills a very needed gap in terms of simplicity of use. It means that it does not require big ships and people to operate the equipment or trained personnel. It's a very simple operation. Everybody can do it, can deploy the drone in the water. And at the same time, having a quite high performance in the quality and amount of data that can be captured. Because we can integrate very high quality market sensors and make it available through a data platform. So the customer actually is so simple to just logging into a website and have access to dashboards, data analysis. You can APIs, you can automate processes, and so yeah.
And the weight was only 20 kilos.
And the weight is approximately 20 kilos. We want to make it one person portable, so that it doesn't require a winch or.
Cool. So that's about data, ocean data, and that leads us to the next question we have prepared for you, and that is that during the last decade or so, we have seen an enormous technological growth anticipating to support the energy green transition. What, if anything, and of course it is the role of ocean data in this transition, or what can be the role of ocean data?
So data in itself is a means to obtaining information, right? So and you need information to take decisions that are based on facts and not only guesses. So and making decisions in a way that what we do in the ocean is more sustainable, but also more cost effective. So by having access to real or near almost real-time data, we can also maybe make better, wiser decisions in terms of designing things that fail later. You can optimize, you can detect failures much easier. So there's a lot of the role of data. I think it's a catalyzer that we have been used to in the surface or on land. It's a commodity because it's relatively simple nowadays to have Internet of Things, all sensors deployed everywhere. But this sort of revolution has not reached yet the subsea world. It's still quite costly to have this data access. Yeah.
But what I've read and heard is that there's an abundance of data available, just like you say. Yeah. And then it's a matter of what can you use all the data for?
Right.
Because some of the data is perhaps not relevant for what you need it for.
Absolutely. So absolutely, data by itself is not it doesn't mean that it's useful for something. Yeah. But data about the ocean, there are many uses that can be used in the future for understanding our climate, understanding the climate change, understanding better how the different activities, offshore wind, oil and gas, in the future maybe subsea mining even, how they can be done in a more environmentally mindful way. Yeah.
Okay, Alex, we have moved a bit closer to the water, so we can actually now see the water. It's like you said, 10 meters or 12 meters. It's really nice to be here with you at the Ocean Laboratory by Oslo Metropolitan University, Oslo Met. Now, what specific types of ocean data are important for the energy industry, and how can this data be used to support the transition to renewable energy sources?
First,
Yeah.
So there's of course, a lot of data. For instance, the one traditionally or most efficiently collected by AUVs, autonomous underwater vehicles, is regarding seabed data. So that's bathymetry data and even subsurface characterization of the seabed. That is one type of data that is very commonly acquired with autonomous underwater vehicles. In terms of what types of data are needed, all sorts. We need data about the environment where the different technologies are going to operate in order to be able to design them in a way that they will resist the operation conditions and we will not maybe overspend on designing it. We need data in terms of environmental parameters. What type of biodiversity is in the area where we're going to operate? Is there how is the area before we start the project? And is there, during the project ongoing, is there an impact? Is there a change on the different environmental conditions? So there's, for instance, there are examples of.
And today, when we heard about Sirena, we also heard about ocean wind being the sort of one of the primary clients, potential clients for that, and the accelerating access to the renewable energy from offshore wind farms that we have a lot of now is critical in mitigating the climate crisis. We need more wind farms, we need more energy from the ocean. How can ocean data availability be of help when you install wind farms?
So there are many aspects, but I think one critical aspect is ensuring that while we definitely need this growth in the number of offshore wind projects, that this is done in a way that is accepted by the society and it doesn't impact in a negative way other activities like fishing, for instance, or impacting the natural resources or the biodiversity. So it's data is needed in terms of having a more an easier and a more easier way of getting making sure that this expansion of offshore wind is done in a way that is respectful for the environment and for other ocean users.
Yeah, I can hear the word impact from you a few times.
Yeah.
So you can study impact, change of impact, or how things can impact.
Yes.
That's important.
Yeah.
Now, what other potential benefits can the energy industry gain from using underwater drones to collect ocean data? There must be a lot.
There must be a lot. One, we like to think that it's one of the key advantages is in terms of speeding up the process of, there's a very long process where an operator needs to collect data before a project starts in order to get the baseline for the place. So we using drones, it's a much cost-effective and faster to get this data, so the projects can be done in a faster way. And time, as you mentioned, time is of an essence here. So by helping, we try kind of speeding up and making the whole process of expanding offshore wind a little easier.
Yeah. Now, obviously, as has become even more clear after the Ukraine invasion by Russia 1 year ago, we need oil and gas for a long time, and the demand will continue. Can the ocean data help the oil and gas, the fossil fuel industry, with this decarbonization? Because they work hard to do that, to have as little emissions as possible from their production. And personally for you, what do you think of the IPCC 1.5 degree global warming limit? That the one we are striving towards, not to sort of lose out completely. Do you think it's achievable?
So
that's a big question, Alex.
Yeah, yes, and
how can you help that?
Exactly, yes. So I'm an expert. I'm a professor in robotics, an expert in technology. So I don't have maybe the best person to give an opinion on whether it's achievable or not. But I think the numbers are not very promising, and so we are really needed to take a little bit more action. And everyone, and I'm a technology optimist, so I think that technology can play a very important role, but not alone. We need it's a big changes need to happen to be able to achieve these objectives.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that if you are a technology optimist, because you know, I am lucky, and many people are lucky enough to listen to many people like you, and to hear all the technology development that is going on, and you get hopeful because you know that technology is not what will stop us. It's more like political and money-making decisions and things like that, I guess. But there's technology there.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things, for instance, now there's a big change coming very soon. What is the EU taxonomy?
Yeah.
It's going to require all companies to adapt to certain requirements in order to certify that they are operating in a sustainable way. So this can be really impactful in the way that help companies be more sustainable and take more action. But I totally agree. Technology alone is probably not the big challenge. It's how the regulations also make that technology is deployed. That the people developing technology, they need to have an incentive to do this development. And sometimes also something that we see is that sometimes the regulators are not aware of, or it's not a fast process to be aware of what technology is actually available. So maybe it's not bold enough, or maybe the people developing technology should have a more fluent relationship with the regulators to say, hey, you thought that this was not possible. Actually, it is possible. We can have this technology. So it's more.
Yeah, because there might also be lobbyists who say that it's not possible because it against their own clients. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of talk about the CCS, carbon capture and storage these days. Can your drone help in that in any way?
Yeah, and that's one of the promising market segments that lie in the future. For instance, our drones could be helpful in leakage detection. So equipped with CO2 sensors, could be help to detect small leakages from the reservoirs. And also in the environmental monitoring, continuous environmental monitoring of the carbon subsea storage locations. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Can you tell a bit more about the drone's technical characteristics and parameters? Is autonomous? Is it piloted? What is the weight of the drone? We talked about that. It's like 20 kilos. So Alex, coming back to the drone, the Serena drone, the AUV. Can you tell even more about the specifics of it? You know, is it piloted? Is it autonomous? The camera? How is it moving forward, going up and down, and all these things?
Yeah.
Just some for the technology nerds here.
We call it a water drone, which is not a very advanced technical denomination, but we think it represents what our technology is, and it's a drone that it's not only operating underwater, it's also operating on the surface, so it's in the water body. And a drone, today everybody understands what is a drone, so that's we call it Sirena water drone.
Why this is water, not ocean?
Because actually it can be used also in freshwater bodies,
okay, so
lakes and big rivers. That was the idea. So it is autonomous in the sense it can take its own decisions on board. It's about 20 kilos, and it's basically a sensor carrier platform. So it's a device that provides, you can plug it with what sensor you want, with market leading sensors. And what it does, it makes your sensor alive, let's say. So you have a sensor that usually it will be carried around by people on a boat. So what we're doing is taking this sensor, connecting to our drone, and then making this data from the sensor then available to the end user from a website. So simplifying the process. Yeah.
It sounds incredible, you know. We have electrical cars in Norway, a lot of them, abundance, and people talk about räckvidd, the angst, you know, how long before the battery runs out and you have to recharge and all that.
Yeah.
With this drone, how long can it run by itself? How do you charge it?
Yeah, so it has rechargeable batteries, but usually...
But there's no charge in the water, is
exactly, so this is only... the battery capacity we have now, we aim for a 1 year operation.
1 year operation
1 year,
without charging?
Without charging, right? But of course, in our development plan is to equip also with solar panels, small array of solar
But there's not
panels.
so much sun in the water. is
No, but our drone can also spend time on the surface, and moreover, we can time when we spend time on the surface. If there's a very bad weather, very bad waves, maybe we don't do that, but we take the days where maybe there are a little bit calmer conditions, and we can spend longer time on the surface. In that way, we really expect that the limiting factor is not the battery, but it's the certain sensors that need calibration or need to be maintained. Yeah.
You know, in these days of war in Europe and in our neighborhood, if I were a captain on a boat and I suddenly saw this sunbathing thing in front of me coming up from the ocean, I would be afraid. I would probably say, oh, this is a, you know.
Yeah, I guess that's something we have to.
You have this sign that don't shoot me, I'm your friend or something?
No, so most of ocean research equipment is marked with like, this is research equipment, please do not stall or something. But still, it's actually a quite common problem, the sabotage and the stealing of the equipment. Our drone actually has one strength in the fact that when it's in the seabed, there's no object on the surface. We don't have any buoy. So it's you will be only able to see it when it ascends the surface. But
But the lifetime of the drone, how long do you think it can live? It depends, I guess, on the water conditions and
exactly. I
like
think it's early to say, but we would really aim at having a platform that can operate for several years without maintenance.
But now, Professor, comes a crucial question. Life cycle process. How do you recycle it when it's done?
We need to take care of this. Of course, in all the design, we need to be mindful of being also taking decisions that simplify the process of the impact of the whole life cycle.
But when you made it, do you think about that? Do you think about the whole life cycle thing?
Well, for instance, one of the decisions we are taking from the very beginning is having rechargeable batteries instead of having primary batteries that are actually quite common in other sorts of equipment, because they give you much better energy density. So if you want really to have a lot of energy packed in a small form factor, primary batteries are still the choice. But we have decided to don't go that way. So these sort of decisions and about the materials, about
Now, when it comes to data analysis, do you have any good examples to show of how data has been applied in the sort of ocean energy or the energy industry that you know about?
Well, I know that all the offshore wind projects, for instance, to talk about offshore wind, they require an environmental impact assessment in the phase before the project is granted and before the operation. This is they usually require from several months to 1 year monitoring program. And for instance, something that is used is to go with boats, with hydrophones, and there's people that is expert in monitoring marine mammal activity, and they need to record and they need to document. So this is done on a daily basis worldwide. And what we would do is to automate this process to avoid the need of sending boats and persons and reduce the amount of emissions due to these boats and reduce the costs.
Can your device be, or the technology, can it be connected to other APIs, other software with other IT users, or it can be sort of put into other systems?
Yes, we from the very beginning we have developed an API. So it's extremely simple.
Can you just explain API for those who don't know?
It's a way of interfacing the software of our system in a very simple manner. So for people that have a little bit of programming, not much, a little bit of programming language, for instance, with a Python programming language, which now all of our students from the very beginning, they learn this. It's very easy with simple commands to access the data from the drones, to send commands, to change the parameters, and this then opens the way to automation, as you said. So how to integrate this into other software systems.
There might be some competitors out there. We have mentioned already, we talked about in the meeting we had, Hugin from Kongsberg, that has 90% of the market in what they're doing. But in your market, who are the main competitors, or how do you see that developing?
I think our main competitor for offshore wind, our main competitors are manned, so ships that carry people at sea to gather measurements,
Okay.
and large buoys, oceanographic buoys. I think that's the main competing technologies to what Sirena is offering. Compared to the ships with persons that go there and take measurements, what we are offering is to reduce the amount of ship time, reduce the emissions, reduce the cost, reduce the people involved in the operation. Compared to large buoys, our system is much smaller. It does not require a large ship to deploy these buoys and to maintain them, and it's more resistant to harsh weather and storms, since it can simply descend to the seabed and avoid being exposed to these harsh conditions. But again, the competitive landscape is huge. There are a lot of technologies locally. Most of them still have in common this extremely cost of the platforms itself, and usually the cost of the platform itself is small compared to the operational costs for the typical survey grade AUVs, and they still require very much costly in the operation, deployment, recovery, and
Alex, it's always very nice to meet you. Interesting to listen to you, yes. And now I hope our viewers, if any, have gotten more information that they can use. And perhaps they should come down here sometime and we can have another meeting like we had today to share your data with the audience.
yes. Thank you very much.